What's going on, guys? T2RX6 here, back for another Ninja Turtles review, and today we're taking a look at the Mondo 1/6 scale Leonardo, and he is a big Leonardo. Before we go any further, big shout out to a watcher of my channel. His name is Cisco, and he sent this guy after he saw my Rocksteady and Bebop review and asked me if I wanted to check him out, and I said absolutely. So yeah, he sent them along, and here he is. Just for a quick comparison before we do anything else, here he is next to MP Primal, just so you can see just how big this guy is. I mean, he is massive. Yeah, if you're a big Turtle fan, I could see having these. I am a big Turtle fan, but I don't really know if I need something this big in my collection to represent him. I guess on a shelf, the four of them would be a showpiece. But there's also a couple things that this does that I don't know if I necessarily love it or not. Before we go too deep into the turtle, let's actually start with some of the accessories. We got this like gun. Actually kind of looks like a camera the way it's painted, but I'm pretty sure it's one of the Foot Clan guns. I don't particularly remember it from the comics or the TV show. And that's another thing with the blue bandana. I kind of feel like it's a little confused here, but we'll get to that. Anyway, we got this gun nicely painted, very nice silver. Got some little like imperfections in the actual molding, which is real nice. You definitely got some like distress on the barrel. Really well done. And the paint is not a problem with this. The paint is amazing. You got a grappling hook. Again, it kind of looks like it has some little wear in there intentionally. I think it looks real nice. It's all really nicely done up, so we're not going to take that apart, but it'd be a cool accessory to have, especially if you could maybe get them hanging off of a shelf. You got the Leonardo as a turtle. Like, look at the wash detail that they put on the yellow for the shell. Like, it just looks really well done. Not too much green bleeding on through. Very nicely done. You know? For a second there, yeah, it is a little different. The shell on this one actually is a little darker than the shell on the full scale figure. I guess that could just be difference in paint at the time, but you know, it did stand out to me a little. Here's Splinter as a rat still. Very nicely done. Probably cast in brown, yeah, and then gets that real nice black wash to just kind of give some depth to him. Really nicely done, and no problems with the brown bleeding through the tail at all. Very cool. They also give us the climbing hands. Yeah, so you got the spikes that you would use to like dig into something and help yourself climb. Real nicely done. It's molded plastic, but the way it's painted, it really does end up looking like a leather strap or something on there. Real cool, and all they do, if you want to put them on tight, not the joint we wanted to pop off. Okay, we're not going to do that anymore because I just don't like the amount of pressure it's going, but you would pull this off and you would pop this on. It's a shame that this pops out easier than the hand, but yeah, we're not going to do that. It's not our figure. Not going to risk breaking it. You can imagine how that would look if you wanted it. And we also got a pointing finger for Leonardo, so he could be, or he could be, we gotta go over there, or whatever. You know, I do kind of like if he's waving in front of his head doing the Dikembe Mutombo. You know, that's what it looks like. Articulation on all the hands is pretty well the same. You've got the wrist rotation here, and then you'll have the swivel, obviously, of it in the port. None of the fingers are articulated. Couple more accessories. I didn't want to take these out of the box because they're very hard to get out. You get 2 of this type of throwing star and 2 of this type. Can't really get them out very easy. Too small, probably easily lost, so I'm not even gonna bother. And then the final accessories outside of the swords, which you see on his back, is the comic book head. And personally, if I was going to be displaying this guy, this is the head I would be using. All of this hyper detail on this guy, it just doesn't really look right to me with the blue bandana. So you just take that and This doesn't really peg on very well. It just pops off. It doesn't, like, with all the force I can give it, doesn't like pop on down or anything like that. It just pops right off. I also want to note bandana's on a swivel. And then this one goes on, and this one is even tighter than the blue head. So you can't really get it down. And I don't know if that's intentional or not. It may be intentional, but it doesn't really look very good. Just that the red bandana turtles all tended to have slightly longer necks. So maybe that is the intention. It does look proper from the front, but it doesn't feel proper, and it certainly doesn't look proper from the back where you can see the ball joint. But this is the head I would be choosing to put on them if I was collecting these guys. But for the sake of it not falling off in the middle of the review, we'll go back and put the blue head back on. Coming around to the weapons here, there's a slight problem here. The sheaths do indeed hold the weapons. That's not a problem. But they're so close together, and they're both on, like they're individually on these two straps here. That's another reason the blue doesn't work for me, is because the turtles in the cartoon didn't really have this type of strap layout. But the blue is so close here that, or the straps are so close here that when you put them in, and they do go in, you can see we're actually overhanging the other sword sheath here. And so one of your swords can't really go fully into the sheath. Which is kind of a minor annoyance, but it's annoying nonetheless. I don't remember in the comics what the swords necessarily look like, but I feel like these swords don't really convey a katana to me. I feel like they could have, what they should have done, which is kind of in line with a katana, would have been take this and actually kind of make a rounded oval down here. Like you could have still had the same width, but you could have cut these down substantially. Actually, I guess the width you'd have to change more than the length. But yeah, if you had made it an oval, and maybe, let me see if I can find something to kind of point to it because it's too big. Here's the cap to my camera. If like we cut it down to like here, I think we probably would not be overhanging the other sheath, and this would actually be able to go in without being a problem. Back again to the paint detail, not a problem. Again, it does make it look like leather. All the pads look like leather. The shell is well done. It's got some distress to it. He's obviously seen a couple things because, you know, as a turtle shell would, it's grown and it's scratched and it's, you know, all that stuff. It'd be interesting if there was any cracks, but I guess that's not really in line with these turtles. The front, looking real good. Again, the yellow with the washes on them. Very, very nice. Turtle tail. I don't remember the comics well enough to know if I should want the tail or not want the tail, but it looks a little distracting to me. I kind of wouldn't care if that wasn't there. I suppose if you really wanted to, you probably could like heat it up and pull it off, but just some angles it ends up looking a little bit awkward. Usually from the front it's fine, but once in a while it just kind of creeps in and, you know, you maybe think you're looking at something else. So let's talk articulation. And that's where I think the downfall of this turtle kind of lies. It's so big, you could get away with a little bit more articulation and hide it with all this material. It's kind of basic. The head, as you saw, is on a ball joint, and it's not a very good ball joint because when you know, if you're trying to pose it down like this, like he is just barely hanging on. It's not even in the socket at that point. And the vinyl on whatever, I don't know if it's like another vinyl. The head definitely feels vinyl, but it doesn't move nicely. Like, you hear that? Like, I don't know. I feel like if this was mine, I'd also have to lubricate the ball joint a little. Not that I think it's gonna break, but it'd be easier to pose. Shoulder is on like a ball hinge here, and that's fine. Plenty of range of motion out of there. You can get that up. The bicep here is on its own swivel, so you can kind of move it around and then still kind of twist the bicep so it looks kind of like how you want it to. That's pretty thoughtful. I like that. The elbow doesn't get too much articulation on account of the muscles And that is probably a problem for anyone who has a bunch of muscles, but it does kind of end up limiting some things. Though you can get some decent poses out of it. I mean, looks like he's ready to fight right there, and that looks nice. No problems with the elbows because of how they're done. The wrist, as we had talked about. No way to move the shell. I just noticed this is like a soft rubber, so that's nice. It'll help get things out of the way. But no way to kind of move anything around to give them any kind of waist articulation. I don't know if that's necessary on a turtle or not, but I kind of wouldn't have minded having a little bit of an ability to kind of push one leg forward and one leg back a little. But it's not bad. Coming down to the legs, it's kind of like the same thing as the arms. They have this ball joint here, which is obviously on a swivel, and then you have the actual hinge here. But if you want to go like forward with it or backward with it, you got to manipulate that hinge around, which is not always the easiest thing to do. Sometimes you'll twist the leg back and the hinge is facing the wrong way, and you just kind of have to keep messing with it. But you're not going to get many kick poses out of this guy because of how this works. And he's certainly not going to get any backwards posing on his foot. This is kind of the thing that they could have kind of done some more with it. It might have sacrificed a little for the aesthetic, but maybe if you had something that kind of could slide down a little, and then that would let you kind of clear the legs from the shell, that could kind of be a nice feature. Just for the people who like to pose it, because these guys really need to stand in an almost static stance. Knee is double jointed here. Not that it really matters, because there's not much you can really do with it. I suppose you could do that, and I don't know why you would want to. There is that thigh swivel there, as you saw. The foot excuse me, has a rocker here. I think it's like jointed this way into the foot, and then I'm assuming based on that, yeah, you got that hinge in here. That does give you a little forward and back on the foot, but not much. So overall, this guy is beautiful, but he's just very limited. Getting the weapons in his hand, also kind of a big deal. You gotta get it past his fingers, which is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. There we go. Oh, I'd like that a little bit more down. There we go. But once they're in there, he's holding them just fine. And yeah, overall, he's a very cool figure. I'm not really sure what these guys cost. These are not really on my radar. If you want the 4 turtles and you'll be happy with the 4 turtles, these guys would have a real nice shelf presence to kind of draw someone's attention when you're showing them your house or whatever. To me, they're a little bit big. I don't necessarily need my turtles this big, and they do feel very limited. They're kind of like a slightly posable statue. If that's what you're into, you know, this is going to be perfect for you. So this is T2RX6. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll see you next time.